So this has been a really hard year for gardens and farms. We're in an extreme drought. We're down probably about 8 inches of rain for the year. And what that's done in the garden is started to desiccate things. So you're going to see a lot of damage from the drought. Even though we've had more rain in the last few weeks, it doesn't make up for what we've been missing all year round. And when you start digging in the ground, it's really, really dry. Also, we're seeing things like deer damage because the deer are not finding the food that they need in the woodlands. And in turn, they're coming to gardens for something to eat. So you'll see a lot of deer damage in my garden this year that we normally don't see. This was my hosta garden before it was eaten by the deer. There are a few things that are still okay. For some reason, this little blue mouse ears hosta over here, they didn't like. There isn't one leaf missing from it. Whereas the hosta behind it, which is Patriot, they clearly liked Patriot. It must have tasted better. So I started gardening when I was a little kid with my grandmothers, and I loved to be out in the garden with them. You know, it was good quality time with Grandma. We got to pick flowers and dig in the dirt, and it was all good. My husband was in the military, so we didn't get to live anywhere very long, but every place I lived, I tried to do a little bit of gardening wherever we were. But once we moved to Westford, I really had the opportunity to take a deep dive and really start to garden. I love being out in the garden. It's peaceful. I connect with nature. I don't want headphones on with music blaring. I like to listen to the birds and, you know, hear the animals rustling in the woods. So soil health is the most critical part of gardening. And when we think about a teaspoonful of soil, it has more organisms in it than there are people on the planet. Soil is alive. My garden has done pretty well this year, all things considered, because I feed my soil. I'm constantly amending it with compost. I use a special mulch that is composted horse bedding, so that it has a little bit of manure mixed in it. So it's that constant feeding thing. I don't use any chemical fertilizers at all. This is a totally organic garden. And because of that, it's done very well this year, despite all the issues with the weather and the animals coming into it. We haven't been watering the lawn. We do have a watering ban here in Westford. And when you drive through my neighborhood, you can see the people that have not paid attention to the watering ban and the ones that have. My lawn is pretty green right now. Most of the other lawns in the neighborhood are not green because they've been using chemical fertilizers on them that are a quick fix. It's like, you know, giving your kids soda for lunch to drink every day versus giving them nutritious food. If you live in the city and you only have a small balcony or patio to garden, you can still garden. And here's an example using pots. So, you know, we've got all kinds of color here. Most of the color is from foliage. You know, this is a beautiful coleus that's got this great pink color to it. Not a flower to be seen. The color is all in the foliage. Got some parsley in here. I've even got things growing over here. And these are all things that anybody can grow with some sunlight. They do like, you know, a good 8 hours of sunlight a day. But if you have sunlight on your balcony or patio, you can have a container garden without having a property.
What are these really big leafed plants?
This is a caladium. It's a tropical plant. It has these beautiful black stems on it, and it grows from a bulb. The bulb is about this big. It's not hardy here. If I want to keep it, it's going to have to come, I'm going to have to dig out that bulb and keep it in the house for the winter. But it does these big, beautiful leaves. This right here is actually banana. It was a little teeny plant about this big when I bought it at the beginning of the year, and we're finally getting some growth out of it. So this too I'll cut back and I'll bring into the house over the winter and hopefully keep it alive. It probably won't ever have bananas here unless I had a glass house for it, but it has some really nice foliage to have in the garden, different tropical textures. The Massachusetts Master Gardener Association is having its first ever garden symposium on October 1st at Westford Academy. We have 4 nationally known speakers that are joining us. First is Bob Solberg, a hosta hybridizer. He's well known for plants like guacamole and curly fries, and the very first red-leafed hosta. Next up on the agenda is Gordon Hayward. He was a writer for Horticulture Magazine for 25 years, has written his own books, and is a garden designer. And he'll be speaking on using fine art as inspiration for garden design. We'll also have Ed Bowen from Opus Plants in Rhode Island. Ed is the most passionate plantsman you'd ever meet. He brings more enthusiasm to the table than you could possibly imagine, and he's going to speak on the best plants you've never heard of. And finally, our last speaker of the day is Margaret Roche. She was formerly with Martha Stewart Living as an editor for the magazine, and she has a garden blog called A Way to Garden. Many of us gardeners are followers of Margaret. She has her own beautiful garden. She writes on gardening topics, and we are very pleased to have her as our final speaker for the day. In addition to our speakers, we're going to have a great garden marketplace. Some of our speakers will have their plants to sell. We'll also have some garden art, some pottery, birdhouses, lots of really cool stuff. We'll have a silent auction for fun, and we'll have a day to hang out with fellow gardeners and get some education in the booth. So we hope you join us. Go to massmastergardeners.org/symposium for more information and to register. Registration ends on September 24th.